Today we have Nate Green, the head of content at Waking Up, a meditation app created by neuroscientist Sam Harris. Over the past decade, Nate has sat some of the most intense, exclusive, and arcane meditation retreats all across the world. Nate's also studied in person with some of the most decorated spiritual leaders of our time, including Sonny Rinpoche, Locke Kelly, and Stephen Bodian. We talk about what Nate experienced on some of these retreats, his plans to level up the intensity of his next retreat, definitely stay tuned for that, as well as topics like progress in meditation, ADHD, addiction, and much more. Hey Nate, well it's been about, I'd say, a year since we last spoke, and I want to know, has what's changed in your life? What's different? Are you more awake?
Oh, that's a good question. On some level, totally not. My wife is starting a salon right now, and so we, took out a loan for that and put in some savings, and there's the build out, and then we've been traveling a bunch, which is great, but also kind of has its own levels of stress associated with it. And as much as it's a pleasure and a privilege to work for Waking Up, which is, a wonderful meditation app that you were a part of for a while and left an indelible mark on, I must say. At some point, it's like, I realize it's a job, and here I am editing the greatest meditation masters of our time and, ones that have passed. And I'm just getting mad at the editing software. And so I would say that what is more awake anyway? I have no idea, but I'm enjoying my life. There's moments of insight. Things are going pretty well.
Well, I guess I'm wondering if you're stringing together a larger percentage of your day as insight-filled and full of beauty relative to 365 days ago.
I would say, who knows?
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, that's actually an interesting way to start too, because how do you even check for progress on something like this? It's like some days it's very fresh and alive, and I feel like I'm walking around my neighborhood and I'm having conversations like this, and I feel very in sync and in touch. And then other times I'm totally discombobulated and lost in anxiety, and then attention just kind of flits back and forth between them, it seems. And so on some level, I think there's probably, we'll get to this, but I'm actually kind of looking to recommit a bit more to my practice. So I have a thing I'm doing soon that we'll talk about. And other than that, there's also this kind of okayness with just things happening and not having to like sit every day for 45 minutes, no matter what. That kind of becomes its own little bit of a trap almost.
When you were saying, how do you know if you've progressed? Like, I'm convinced that I'm coming out of a long period of losing progress, like of going backwards. but I'm coming out. But I think
Why do you say that?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what's happened. I think I got to the point where I felt like I didn't need structure. And this is around meditation practice. And then I was like, no, I got this. I'm just like walking around town, awake as fuck. Like, I know what I'm doing. And then I did that for 6 months in a row. And by the end of that, I was just feeling like I'm miserable and irritable and frustrated. And I want this and that. And I'm not getting any of that. And I just was like, hold on a second. I'm way less awake than when I had to practice. So
it's easy to slip into those habits over and over again, right?
It is because like when you're in a really strong period of practice, you do get to a point where you're like, I don't know if I need to sit down at the beginning of each day and just do this and have someone in my ear tell me what to do. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Exactly.
And then like, it's like anything. You stop playing guitar, you stop playing piano, you just come back to it and you're like, oh no, I suck now.
It is, it's kind of the use it or lose it mentality, right? Like I found that with writing, with physical exercise, with relationship dynamics, and practicing that with my wife. It's either you're kind of on the point of it, top of mind, or it's kind of fading into the background. And I don't know, there's something about meditation practice though, where it does need to have some level of consistency, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you felt like at least editing these masters, you're getting some degree of wisdom by osmosis?
Yes, is the short answer to that. It's interesting when I listen to the dead masters and I'm editing their work, then I really feel like it's happening through osmosis. When I'm listening to not necessarily the newer teachers, but I think because I'm able to have a dialogue with them, what it does is it adds this whole other dimension of me just seeing their messy human life as well, you
Mm,
know? And
mm.
so I don't know, it's like
Sort of breaks the fourth wall.
yeah, a little bit. It's like any other industry. Like if you're like we were talking about music before we started recording, and I would imagine it's kind of similar where like, it's an industry and you get into it and there are people who really know what they're doing, people who kind of know what they're doing, and a bunch of mix in between. And then you just realize that they're rock gods, but maybe their lives are still upended in some other way. And just being behind the scenes, like I have nothing but positive things to say about all the teachers that we work with, of course. But what it's done for me is it's given me a little bit more um, space to go, okay, well, I don't have to have all this figured out. I don't need to be awake all the time because obviously this person who is teaching retreats around the world and everything else, they're struggling with some human things too. So on some level it becomes kind of part and parcel of like this is just the path, it seems to me. Like you're going to have a messy human life and also there's this context where everything is kind of happening and you can be aware of that and that's a gift too, you know.
That doesn't defeat your hope of getting better at this kind of stuff. And I'm using obviously better in a strange way,
Yeah,
but I just mean, being more awake
no,
more
I
of
know
the
what you
time.
mean because I definitely kind of fall into that too where I'm like the thing that you said earlier about practice and how you sit for long enough or consistently enough and then you have certain insights and then you're thinking, oh yeah, I've got this under control. I don't need to be a weirdo and sit every day for an hour to try to reach some state. Like it's already here. But then
Mm,
what happens, at least in my case, is that that tends to be forgotten or like I said, fade into the background. And suddenly there's no difference between you and someone who's never meditated in their life
yeah.
because you're just following the same habitual patterns that you've always followed, you know?
Yeah. Especially when you throw into the mix some of this not only human stuff, but human in a Western society stuff, like you said, like you're trying to start a business with your wife, and you're taking out
Mhm.
loans, and you're traveling, and when you travel, you got to pay for the travel, and you're trying to fit in all of this stuff, and you're like, there's a degree of the game I have to play which is not compatible with just sitting in silence doing nothing.
This is the tricky part about it all because we've talked about progress many times before, but there is something about like, I think beforehand, I would say that oh yes, like I've had these awakenings, these experiences, and they've influenced my life. And now, as I go throughout the day, I'm not perturbable, and really, it's just kind of like a slight form of like disconnect. It's like I realize that for a period of time, I feel like we all kind of go through this at different stages. That I'm kind of removed from my life almost, like kind of like a
Mm,
witnessing perspective, and
mm,
that's not true spirituality or meditation. I mean, you're
mm.
not in the nitty-gritty of your life. And then you can go too far into the nitty-gritty of your life and seemingly lose contact with any insight that you've had before. And then you're just what the Buddha would call an ordinary person in the world. And so that seems to be more and more the practice is the dance between these more open expanded states that are coming and going and
Mm.
not at all stable and these more contracted like fuck, I gotta pay my loan this month or I gotta talk to the building inspector from the city. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and be totally zen with this guy who doesn't want us to open the salon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, more and more the meditation practice is like, it's just this life, and yet with maybe a recognition that there's more to it than meets the eye, you know? Like if we take a moment just to, like, even speaking right now, I'm just talking and I don't know what I'm going to say next. If we just kind of slow down, then I'm like, oh yeah, there's this whole other way of being that isn't like I have to sound smart. I have to have a good conversation with Jonah so that people listen to this and feel like they got something useful and valuable out of it. It's a different mode where it's like, okay, well, anything can happen. And I'm going to be okay with it because it's fucking happening anyway.
Well, yeah, no, that's a beautiful insight. And I talk about this a lot. Particularly when I'm guesting on other shows, it's like one of the things that I have to keep on remembering. I'm going to lose the beauty of the fact that I'm having a conversation with someone, usually on the other side of the world, about something, about a mutual interest, about something we're both excited about. That is an amazing thing to be doing. And if I'm thinking about whether or not my last response was good, I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss the actual flavor of the incredible experience that is on offer right now. And you can't be self-conscious or you'll miss it. And I mean, that goes down to every emotion. Like if you are, stuck in the past, you'll miss the now. You'll miss the now. And when now is something that's rare, like a conversation with you or a conversation with someone else, then it's all the more important to be here for it.
Exactly. And even as you're talking, I can feel my mind going like, okay, well, what am I going to say next to this? Right. And that's the whole, like Alan Watts calls it the cosmic joke. Like that's the kind of joke of it all, is that like, we think there's something to find, and there is. And at the same time, it's this right here. And so how can you ever possibly get away from it? I don't know. It's a paradox, and I've been spending the last 5 years of my life working for a meditation app. You would think that I would have more of a grip on it than I do, or seem to have, and yet here we are.
No, but you probably do. You probably do, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. It depends on who we're talking to and what room I'm sitting in, I think, is the key point. You know what I mean?
But there must have been a
Yes.
time where you'd go and you'd talk to one of these teachers and you'd go, well, I really need to be on my toes in order to keep this conversation flowing and sound like I understand what they're talking about, relative to now where they're going to say some concept and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's what that is.
What's interesting about teachers is, so I haven't told you this, but I actually went and sat with a guy in Costa Rica in November for about a week. It was
Wow, cool.
a solo retreat. So it was just me and him. He had
Wow.
a guest house that I stayed in, and we spent literally like 5 hours a day sitting across from each other, kind of like we are now, but in the same room, maybe 15 feet away from each other. And there would be dialogue, and we would have our eyes open and we were looking at each other. And what would happen is that we would just kind of both find ourselves in this shared space where I didn't have to perform. I didn't have to learn anything. He didn't have to be a teacher and teach anything. I feel like I finally understood what is meant by direct transmission, because the other person being knowingly in that space of awareness, or however you want to language it, that kind of opens a door for the other person to enter it. And so we would just find ourselves staring at each other for like an hour, not saying anything. And it was one of the wildest experiences of my life, man.
That's so
It was
intense.
amazing. It
So
was
was
intense.
it actually like prescribed silence, or did silence just seem to be where it fell to?
No, it was like a 5 hour conversation where, like, when you're hanging out with a really good friend, an old friend, or your partner, and you don't need to say anything. You're just in each other's company.
Yeah,
It
I've
was
heard
like,
about those states. They don't come naturally to me, but that's why I try and
but
talk for a living. But
well, it was like that, but with a stranger. I mean, really.
yeah,
I mean, I'd never met the guy beforehand. I'd only emailed with him a handful of times. I'd read a couple of
yeah,
his books,
yeah.
and I was just amazed. Actually, it was so disconcerting that after the first day, I went back to my little casita, my little house, and I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. This is crazy. I can't do this. This is like, it was so vulnerable
Mm,
to just kind of be there with another person and with zero expectations. Like I wasn't expecting him to teach me something. We just
yeah.
started, and and then we'd break, and then we'd have conversations like this, and then that would naturally flow into just I would talk, and then realize I'm talking for no reason, and then I would be
Wow.
quiet, and then that would just last for a while until it didn't. So it was very much of a responsive kind of shared space. And I'm convinced that if anyone else would have walked in the room at that time, and we were in that kind of space, that they would have been fully included in that as well.
Really? Really? Because I was
Yeah,
going to ask if the bubble would burst, but it doesn't sound
I
like
mean,
it. They'll
who
get
knows?
absorbed.
Who knows? Maybe the bubble would burst. I mean, no one walked in the room, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, these are all passing states too. So even there with the teacher, it's not like I had this like enlightenment and now like it changed everything, but it did show me going back to your thing of like where I was saying, after 5 years of working for a meditation app, you would think I'd be further along or whatever. I'm kind of I'm just saying that. I
You're
guess it's
being
kind of
humble.
a humble brag,
Yeah.
probably, honestly, is what it is. But it was actually very gratifying because after the first half an hour of being with him and we kind of clicked in, he was like, I can tell you've been practicing. And I'm like, I can tell I've been practicing. This is fucking crazy, dude.
That's so funny.
Uh,
So how many days of this were there?
it was 5 days.
So 5 days with 5 hours a day.
Yeah, basically, I would basically I'd get up in the morning. I would have the morning to myself. I would go up to his spot around 10 a.m. We'd sit for like 2 to 3 hours. I'd go back, have lunch, and I'd go back in the evening to hang out with him for another 2 hours or so. And yeah, it was intense, but at the same time, it just felt like hanging out with an old friend. He was in his late 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, I can say his name. His name's Will Johnson, by the way.
Well, where do you find a Will Johnson? Like, how does this guy even come on your radar?
Oh man. Well, if you go deep down the rabbit holes that I've gone down, you find some cool, weird people, man.
Makes
Like,
sense. That
I've
makes sense.
definitely done the rounds on the Dharma scene, and
Yeah.
I read a book by him called The Posture of Mahamudra, I think is what it's called. Very
Okay.
kind of obscure book, and it was filled with somatic koans is what he called
Ah,
them. So instead of
yeah.
trying to, instead of trying to like a koan where you trying to figure it out with your mind, it was more of like he would say something like, uh, stand as perfectly tall as you can and at the same time be as relaxed as you possibly can. And then kind
Okay.
of float in that space of being tall and relaxed. And it's just a like how do you be as tall as you can with while being as relaxed? Because you if you're trying to be tall, you're thinking about the muscular tension and trying to raise your head up like someone's measuring you, but then you're
Yeah.
relaxed, and it kind of just drops you into this. When the nervous system kind of calms down, I feel like the rest of the system kind of calms down, and these states of openness that come and go seem to be more accessible.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm,
I mean, that's the beauty of the Collins, right? Like you have to figure out the riddle for yourself.
exactly, and they're very experiential. I mean, no one can tell you the answer to it. Yeah, it is a self discovery, and so
Mm.
yeah, I read his book and it resonated with me. I was always worried that maybe he was a little too out there for the app, and so I went and studied with him. But now we're working on a series together that I
Oh,
hope
really?
fingers crossed is gonna
Cool, cool,
get
cool.
into the app. So we'll see.
Nice,
Uh,
nice.
so
So we were we were talking beforehand about how we were due for a tune up,
mhm.
and so I've sort of crowbarred something into my life, and so have you. So let's talk about your one. What are you up to very soon?
Okay. Well, I really want to hear about yours too, because you gave me no context at all,
That's
and
true.
and you know what I'm about to say.
Exactly.
Uh, so at the end of this month, I'm going on a dark retreat, and so there's a place in Oregon called SkyCave. Uh, Apparently, I didn't know this. Apparently, they have like a 2 year long waiting list.
Wow.
Um, and so apparently there are a bunch of people really excited to go sit in the dark with themselves for 72 hours, which is what I will be doing. But just because of some people, I was able to kind of get in, and yeah, I'm terrified, but in the best way possible. So I'll fly down to Oregon. I think I'll have maybe 24 hours of weaving in and out of the dark. It's a one. I think it's not a cave. It's like a structure. It's got a bed. It's got a bathroom with a toilet and a bathtub. It's heated by a wood stove that apparently they heat, stays pretty comfortable. They bring me meals at the end of every night for the
Wait, so you're
next
just sitting
day.
in the dark or lying in the dark?
Basically, I'm just existing in the dark. Yes. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Like, I'm not, there's nothing to read, nothing to listen to, nothing. I mean, you can't even, nothing to
And
look
there's a
at. You can't even
2-year
see
waiting
anything.
list for this.
And there's a 2 year waiting list for this. Exactly.
Okay.
But it's an ancient practice, especially in the kind of the Dzogchen Tibetan Buddhism lineage, and I'm
Okay.
sure some others, but that's the one I'm most familiar with. And it's considered like a very high practice. I'm
Sorry,
not.
how many days was this?
So it's going to be 72 hours of in the dark. So it's a 5 day experience,
Yeah.
3 full days in the dark, and then 1 day of kind of integration afterward.
Okay. Integration back
But
into the real world.
yeah, exactly. Apparently,
Reintegration. Yeah.
yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen, but
Your eyes will explode.
I'm that's maybe who fucking knows, maybe. But here's the most interesting question for me, because I've tried to have as few expectations as I can going into this, but like, how do you orient when there's no sight? I mean, I'm sure blind people can tell us this, right? Like, this is not a new thing, but someone who's had sight their entire life, and now I'm going to go in the dark for 3 days.
Mm,
I'm just left with what my sensory experience, like my felt sense, and my mind, my thoughts.
mm.
I don't know. Like, I've been told to not prepare for it, because they're like, anything that you're going to do to prepare for it is not going to work. Like,
Wow.
you can't meditate your way out of it. It's like you have to fully, to use the loaded spiritual term, surrender. You have to fully surrender to just bare existing. Like, all my needs are taken care of. I'm in a safe place. I'm assuming I can walk out whenever I want to. I don't think the door's locked. I haven't checked on
Mm.
that, but I'm pretty sure the door's not locked.
Yeah.
And yet psychologically it's like a little terrifying.
What are you hoping to
Yeah.
get out of it?
Great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I it seemed on one level, like, kind of working in this industry, it's like, this just seems like kind of a thing to do, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
totally.
Like, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like shopping around for experiences. And so on some level, it's totally just that. It's just like, there's a part of me that's like, what is that like to go sit in the dark for 72 hours? I want to know
Yeah.
what that's like. I know what it's like to do 5 grams of mushrooms. I know what
Yeah.
it's like to do a 10-day silent retreat. I know what it's
It's
like
just
to
on the
sit.
meditator bucket list kind of
Yeah,
thing.
a little
Yeah.
bit, I guess. So there's that aspect of it, but the other aspect is, so I think you know this, but like a couple of years ago, I went in and actually got a formal diagnosis of ADHD, and
Yeah.
so hyperactive compulsive. Um, there's a lot going on in my system, and I think I've spent the majority of my life trying to like dampen down my sensory
Mm,
experience, because
mm.
it can be a bit overly energetic and kind of overwhelming. And so there's a part of me that's really curious when there's when there's literally nothing to do, and I don't even know how to orient myself in space other than touch. I don't know what kind of comes online. I mean, if anything, I guess I don't want to say it's a hope, but maybe it is a hope. I want a stronger connection to my felt experience. Something tells me that making a better friend of my senses and my sensory awareness, especially my sensations, like my
Yeah.
body sensations,
Yeah.
will just serve me well for the rest of my life. Who knows? That's the idea.
That's so cool. I mean, maybe I can get you to send me a voice note after and just, lay down some of what happened,
Totally.
because I think like, I'm completely fascinated by what's going to happen in this dark room, and I think the listeners will be completely fascinated too. I mean, what a scary thing to do. I mean, silent retreat's already hard enough. Now you're doing one in the dark. It's just wait. Can you chat? Can you talk?
So yes. Well, I can talk out loud to myself, which will probably.
Are you in
happen.
a room with other people or not?
No. Solo.
Oh my God. This is like, it's like compulsory Siberian solitary confinement. It's crazy.
Yes, but less cold probably.
Yeah.
But so at the end of every, so again, there's the first day is kind of weaving in and out of the dark. And so I'm there with obviously the people that own the place. One of them is a somatic therapist who I've already had one session with, and she was incredible. And then there's 3 days in the dark and then 1 day of integration afterward. But at the end of every day, they bring me my meals for the next day. And if I need it, they'll stick around for like a 5 to 20 minute conversation. So, and give me some pointers or instruction if I really need it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Okay. Wow.
So anyway, that's what I'm doing. What are you doing?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, firstly, I'm terrified for you. But what I'm doing is, Izzy, my wife, and I are driving up the coast to the Great Barrier Reef. So we're in Sydney, and we're going up to the Great Barrier Reef, and then we're going to go camp on a tiny island that's just 500 meters circumference for 8 days. And
just the two of you?
No, we're going in a group of 14, and we've booked out the entire island. But it's only $5 a night, but we basically have a private island in the middle of the Great Barrier Reef. And
wow.
We're just going to stay there in camp and just see what happens. There's like obviously no reception, no electricity, no anything. We're just going to live off the island.
That's amazing.
And I said live off the island. We're going to bring food.
It's like a survivor. Are you bringing supplies? Or are you just
it's like alone, but we get all of our things that we bring.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Naked and Afraid, but no one's naked or afraid.
Exactly. We are a little afraid. It's there's no access to anything. We did it about 7 years ago. And someone drowned, not one of our group, but like someone came in on a boat, and
oh my God,
they were just like some tourist who couldn't swim, and they drowned, and they had to get like helicoptered out, and it's a whole thing. Like that's the scary bit, is that if something goes wrong, you've got no way of actually solving that problem. Like you have to get a helicopter, and getting a helicopter there's one like phone on the top of a tiny little ladder somewhere on the island, and you got to run, and like that's the scary bit.
You gotta climb a ladder to use. You gotta
climb a ladder to use the phone to call one number, which is the Queensland Rescue National Park people or whatever. So that's the scary bit, is if something goes wrong. And it's the Great Barrier Reef. There's like sea snakes and sharks and stuff, and so that I'm scared. I'm a little scared, but we survived last time, which is what makes me feel a little bit better. And we were younger and dumber back then, so if I hadn't have done it then, I wouldn't have done it now probably.
So the 7 years time gap between this?
About 7 years.
What do you remember from it, and from your last experience, and what are you hoping for this time around? Do you have any kind of expectations with it?
That's such a good question. And what I'll say is, when we did it 7 years ago, there was this strong sense of like, we're missing out on various different things. Like people were very worried about entertainment. Like people were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for 8 days on an island with nothing, no electricity? And I remember that being a big part of the air Whereas now everyone is just so excited to leave their jobs. Like,
Oh, I bet.
that's the
Yeah.
difference. Like, no one's worried about what we're going to do because everyone is so desperate to just not be in civilization right now. And I think like just doing nothing is actually exciting. So there's already that
Mm,
difference. And the other thing is, it's kind of like, how old are you?
39.
You're 39. Okay, so you're a little bit older than me, but we're our group is kind of in the sort of pre-kids phase.
Got it.
And it's like it does feel like there's this is the last chance before people really grow up and be
Hmm.
adults and be proper people, and we can all just be a bit silly and go a bit wild on this island for a bit.
And
That,
do you know everyone really well?
I know most people really well.
That's
There's maybe one
incredible.
or two like friends who I don't know live in other states, but like, yeah, no, it's
That's
gonna
gonna be
be
amazing.
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, and I think
So
like
what are you gonna do?
it's a good question. I mean, you'd be surprised at how much time is taken up just doing the basics. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember last time all we had was one AeroPress that I brought, and I'd make coffee for everyone in the morning, and it would take 4 hours. Like, that was most of my morning. We'd get up at 5, and by the time I got a coffee to everybody in the group, it would be 9. So it's
That's
like
amazing.
the actual basic human functioning is so
Totally.
slow. Like cooking, we got one little gas burner, we got to feed 14 people. Like,
Are you gonna bring a book?
nah, I'm not going to bring a book.
Yeah, good for you. That's
I'm not going to
great.
bring a book. I'm going to go full island and just see what happens.
No board games or anything?
Okay, well, we'll bring a couple of packs of cards, I'd say.
Yeah, you need a hacky sack or a frisbee.
Yes. No, hacky stack's good. There's no place to play frisbee. Like, it
Okay, so
is
just hacky sack.
it's just a hacky, yeah, maybe a hacky stack, but like it's like this tiny little forest, and then it's just water.
Are you intense?
We're intense.
Man, I'm excited for you. This is gonna be cool. I've done some backpacking here in Montana where I've been out for 5 or 6 days at a time. So I totally relate to what you're saying about like just the necessities of life take more time than you would think. Like when you're
Mm.
actually cooking everything and making coffee for 14 people with one AeroPress.
Yeah.
And then you're just gonna have all this free time with nothing to do. And what a beautiful opportunity to just hang out with a bunch of close friends and meet some new people too. I mean, it sounds like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a cool experience.
Well, there's that, and there's the fact that we're in the middle of like one of the like natural wonders of the world. So
Oh
there's
yeah,
no
I'm totally forgetting that part. Like you're in a gorgeous natural
Yeah, I mean,
landscape. I
last
mean,
time we saw like
yeah.
turtles laying eggs and burying them on the actual island. We saw
Oh my gosh.
manta rays with wingspans of like 3 meters. We snorkeled with them. We're bringing paddle boards, kayaks,
All right. Yeah. Oh, so you're
spear guns, that kind of stuff.
I am not even concerned for you guys a little bit. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll be terrifying. The terrifying aspect of that is definitely like the lack of like immediate assistance if required.
Yes.
And yet the just to like be on the water for that long around people who are all in the kind of the same mindset of like we just want to be out of civilization and in nature with each other. I
Hmm.
think that's a recipe for some kind of if not a breakthrough
Group
of
orgy.
yeah. We go back to naked and afraid then. So it's just
Yeah.
naked and sensual.
No, but
Uh,
where this really pertains to what we've been talking about is, if I'm being honest, the safety stuff is not what I'm most scared about. What I'm most scared about is like a guest I've been trying to get replying and then not getting a reply back, or like just an opportunity coming along, like some production gig or whatever, and me not being able to respond in real
yeah.
time, and like, what I'm scared about, like, there's just like different projects that I'm on and different projects that I'm going for, and them landing while I'm away is actually what I'm trying to meditate on coping with. That's what I'm scared
Mm,
of. That's what I'm scared of, which is so
you need
worrying.
you need a very good autoresponder.
I do. I need a good autoresponder, but like, like you can't help it, because this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm so ingrained in
Yeah.
just the motions of like trying to build different things, building this show and like also just building all that different aspects of my career. And I like to let go of that is definitely what's the hardest for me and the hardest for I reckon most of my friends going on this too. Like again, it's this weird stage, and I feel like early 30s is this weird time where you just want to hustle, like you're trying to prove yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And I
Yeah.
think everyone's terrified of giving that up, even for a week.
Oh, and Izzy, what does she
Yeah.
think about all of this? Your wife?
I mean, she's one of those people who doesn't need this path like the rest of us do. Like she's got
What do you mean?
well, she's got a degree of built-in mindfulness in her mental mechanics. Like she's just
Mm.
kind of far more chilled out than most people I know for basically no reason. Like she's putting no effort into having that state. And her mom's
Uh,
the same. Like they just kind of drift through life being like, what will be, will be. If I get hit by a bus, I get hit by a bus, la la la. And it's like not like it's just I don't understand. I'm
sounds
very
pretty
jealous
good.
of it. It sounds
Yeah.
really good. It's like when I first got into mindfulness, I was so into like preaching, like everybody needs to do this. Everybody needs to do this. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, no, some people just have it.
Yeah, totally. Or at least they have aspects of it.
Yeah.
And you never
Yeah.
know. Maybe the insight, the deeper insight. Maybe it is there. I mean, who knows? People quote, wake up all the time without doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I wish you luck in a hacky sack and more than one AeroPress.
Thanks. So Nate,
Uh,
something that I think I asked you last time, and I ask everyone
yeah.
this: what are you working on about yourself? And you can answer that in any way you want.
Oh man, I found myself even more recently kind of having some vices that I've kind of clung to. So, given the ADHD, for whatever reason, like cannabis has been very useful for me in my
Mm,
journey. Like it's kind of like mellowed my system out. And
mm,
I was never just taking like huge bong rips and like being like a stoner dude, but I definitely started using it daily,
mm,
like in the evenings after work or on the weekends. And I've kind of like, you know what? I was talking to the somatic therapist that's running part of the dark retreat,
mm.
and they always recommend that people don't drink caffeine beforehand and kind of wean themselves off of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but not to do it right before, because then you're kind of in an extreme state where your body's going through withdrawals while you're in the dark, which isn't conducive to a good
Yes.
experience. And so I
Yes.
was telling her about, I take a low dose of a stimulant medication. So I take a very low dose of Adderall. So at the lowest amount you can get with Adderall in the States is like 10 milligrams. I break that in half and I take 5 milligrams. And
Yeah.
then, so that, along with my like mostly daily ish cannabis habit, I'm like, I kind of fell into a rhythm where I haven't been as connected to my immediate experience, or maybe there's like a subtle
Yeah.
trying to distance myself from my immediate experience.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I basically I've been sober from cannabis for like about a week now, and I was surprised at how I actually kind of felt some withdrawals. I was like, holy shit, this was actually more of a thing than I gave it than
What
I
kind of
thought.
withdrawals?
Um, yeah, like low level irritability at first. I just realized
Yeah.
I was more sharp with my wife than I needed to be.
Yeah.
Kind of similar, like no headaches, no like cold sweats or anything like that, but just more of like it felt, I'll say it this way. In the evening, I go downstairs and I'm gonna take the dog out for a walk. That would be the time. The day is done where I'm like, okay, I'll just take a little hit of my vaporizer, or I'll take a little 5 milligram edible, and just ease into the rest of the evening. And now I don't have that behavioral component to it, and so there's a part of
Yeah.
missing that aspect of it. It's like when I gave up coffee. I stopped drinking caffeine about a year ago,
Oh,
and I was a
wow.
huge coffee guy.
Yeah.
Um, I still make a cup Chemex for my wife every morning, and I don't drink it.
And you don't have any. That's
No,
crazy
no.
to me.
Sometimes I'll have like an ounce just to taste it because I love the taste of like a nice light Ethiopian or something like that.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's what I'm working on, is just trying to get more in touch with my sensations and to let them do their thing and to be okay with them doing their thing.
That's amazing because, like, whether it's, coffee or weed, you kind of do have a different self when you're on different substances.
I
Like,
mean, anything, yeah,
yeah, anything. Well, yeah, exactly. You can just have hormonal shifts throughout the day that are nothing to do with what you've done. But, like, endorphins as well is another one. But it is
totally.
interesting that if you get to that point where you start to like a particular self that is substance induced, it can get a
Exactly.
little scary. It can get a little scary. I mean, I think that's something that I always try and be mindful with, if, as I, try different things and have different habits in my life. I'm just like, well, I got to remember that there's a base me that I need to reconcile my relationship with. Because if I don't do
Mm.
that, I'm in trouble. I can't just like high me. I can't just love caffeinated me.
Exactly. And it's so hard too, because especially with caffeine, I mean, that's the most used drug in the world, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, when I was talking to the somatic therapist, she was really insisting that I uh, basically stop all kinds of substances,
Yeah.
especially, for the few weeks leading up to the retreat. So I'm not going through withdrawal while I'm in there.
Yeah.
And she was basically saying, like, when you come into the dark, you are unadorned. This is just base living. Like most people, apparently, most people that go into a dark retreat sleep for like the first like 17 hours they're in the dark retreat because their body has
Wow.
been so used to so much stimuli that you don't have it. And then the natural rhythm kicks in. You're just in the dark. It's like being in the womb. I imagine I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a lot of baths. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna take a
No,
lot of baths. I
that
think that's gonna
sounds
be a
right.
really therapeutic way to be in there. You know what I mean?
That's actually it's so funny. I mean, like, I'd love to just get to a point in my life where I don't feel guilty for taking a bath.
Why do you feel guilty for taking a bath?
It's too slow. Got shit to do, man.
Read something in the bath. That's what
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. There's something about a little fun maybe not fun anecdote, but a true thing is I didn't take a shower for the first like 11 years of my life. I only
What?
took baths. I mean, I was clean. I bathed myself, but my family, my mom and dad always took baths. And so I always took a bath. I didn't even know about getting in the shower. I never did that until I was like 11 or 12. It
That's
was a
quite funny.
revelation for me. Yeah. So I'm at home in the bath.
Yeah, okay, okay, it's built into you culturally. One
Yeah,
more
totally.
question, Nate.
Sure.
What makes you really happy?
This right here. I mean, not just this, but like taking a moment to tune in and go, everything's happening right now. All I have is right now. What a gift to even know that it's a possibility to kind of drop everything.
Mm,
And even, I want to be cogent and interesting for the people who are going to listen to this. And at the same time, there's kind of this, yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be, and that's okay. And
mm,
I think it took me a long time to recognize that I didn't have to perform for someone else or try to be somebody. I would say that's what makes me happy. Is I'm more
mm.
and more. I don't have to be anyone. I can just kind of show up to a situation and uh, let it kind of unfold how it's going to unfold.
That's so beautiful. Henry Schuckman said the exact same thing when I asked him, which means
Mm.
that your journey to guruhood has been working.
Oh, I'm not even going to attempt to try to follow Henry Schuckman, but I thank you for that. What about you? Hold
Oh,
on, hold
me?
on. No, don't
Well,
end it. I want to know what's
no?
making you happy.
What's making me happy?
Yeah.
Oh. What's making me happy? That answer, I think, has changed recently. But I would say right now, what makes me happier than anything in the world is squash.
Yeah. The food or the sport?
The sport. I'm just
Okay.
loving squash. It's been this escape. Like, I played squash all through high school, and then I kinda lost it, and then I've come back to it recently, and I'm just adoring the game, and I've got all the muscle memory, so I really just
That's great.
I feel like I'm flying, you know? I'm just in a good rhythm with it. It's
I've
not a spiritual answer.
It doesn't have to be. That's a beautiful answer, though. I've never played squash. I've always wanted to, though. I feel like it would be a great sport. Like, that's isn't the ball it's different than racquetball, where the ball's a
Yeah.
little bit deader, right? Like,
Yeah,
it
the
doesn't.
ball's dead and tiny in squash.
Yeah.
It's very out of vogue. I don't know, like, I was just my friend's dad played it, my best friend's dad played it, and then we were like he made us play it, and then, I wanted to be in the top division at something at school, and so I picked squash because no one else was playing it. I was like,
That's
"Okay."
amazing. Everyone else is into pickleball right now, and you're in the other vegetable category.
That's right, I'm keeping squash alive, me and about 11
Yeah.
other people. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again for joining me on the microphone, Nate. I hope it won't be the last time. You always come to me with these incredible insights, but I feel like from a level of someone who doesn't know everything yet. And I think, like, often because I'm interviewing a lot of teachers, it's like there's this dynamic where I don't feel like I'm on the same playing field. Not I do actually I'm not that I'm saying I'm the same playing field as you, because you are actually very advanced despite how humble you're being. But
Well, no, I mean, well,
my point is I do feel like you're a fellow traveler on the journey to something more. And
yeah.
it's really fun chatting to you.
Well, I totally agree, and thank you for that. If anything, more and more of how I want to be in the world is, yeah, just a fellow traveler, and not not speaking from a place of authority, but speaking from a place of my own direct experience. 'Cause that's all I
Mm,
have, and that's all I can ever really speak from. And so,
mm.
uh, yeah, it's been a pleasure to hang out with you again. I've missed your voice, even though I guess I could hear it on the podcast. Uh, but yeah, thanks again for inviting me on. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Nate.